So the next thing that's happening in here is that Dic Wheeler is going to be facilitating a little conversation about the future of Oddfellows. And the people in this room, he wants to have a voice in it. So I'm going to go away as Professor Wheeler seems to be taking this stage.
Hi everybody, I have to put my glasses on because I'm old.
Hi there.
It is so amazing to be here today and with all of you. So much Oddfellows community from the last 50 years, all in the room together. It's really awesome and moving. And Dic Wheeler, you know that? You got it? Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Excellent. I just, want to start by thanking all the people. And there is, I think, a live stream happening downstairs for anybody who doesn't fit into the room here. For everybody who contributed to making this weekend happen. All of the staff have been incredible. They have been working so hard. I hope that those of you who are here from, faraway places and faraway times have gotten a chance to meet some of the current staff and people who are holding the torch right now. And my wife Marcella has been incredible in pulling the who's coordinating from the beginning of our has been doing amazing things from across the country. And Alicia, who you saw in there, who donated, she has a t-shirt company, she donated all the t-shirts. I can't even begin to thank all the other people because we're just going to leave people out if I start, we'll be here all day. But you know who you are, the people who made this happen. Well, all of you made this happen over the last 50 years, but especially over the last few months and weeks getting this party together. Thanks to everyone. It's really been an amazing thing. And I want to talk mostly about the future, where we're going from here. I'm going to start maybe talking about my Oddfellows journey, which started, I grew up as a kid in Vienna, Austria, and came to Middletown to go to Wesleyan. And somewhere in my sophomore year, in the fall of 1978, I stumbled into Oddfellows. I was a teaching assistant for Tino Menendez, kids class. And then the next semester, I managed to get college credit for writing a play called Willie Ball. And so then I dropped out of college because it seemed like I was learning a lot more at Oddfellows. Got eventually hired with the CETA staff, which is a Comprehensive Employment and Training Act, which was a really important moment for Oddfellows of transitioning from kind of the founders to more of a long-term institution, I would say. And it was a federal government program for hiring unemployed people and providing on-the-job training. So we had a staff, went from pretty much all volunteer program to a staff of 7. And I was part of the second CETA cohort. Melissa was part of that as well. And Dover, I think, was part of that. And Karen is here. And John Freeland Jr. is here somewhere. They were all part of that second CETA cohort from 79 to 80. And then the whole program got cut on the national level. I know it's very familiar sounding these days. Yeah. It was stunning because it happened by Jimmy Carter, but so then suddenly we went from 7 staff to 0 staff. And at that point is really where Betsy stepped in. Betsy kind of like a serial saver of Oddfellows. And she, you know, and because a lot of the CETA staff, me, I took off, you know, and we all went other places, and she really felt that this was important to keep going, and I think Perry, you were working with her at that point, and then, you know, it slowly grew during the 80s from this tiny little volunteer place in you know, in the basement of Holy Trinity Church, and developed into an institution, which was, you know, for me, I tended to come and go. Like I would go like, hey, I'm going to go to Europe for a year, go off and study at Del Arte School or do things. And then I kept coming back. It's like there was some weird rubber band attached to me that just like, and I thought I left for good sometimes. I really thought I left for good in 2005 when Marcella and I began doing Art Farm. It's like I've done enough youth theater. I've been doing this for decades. I'm going to do theater with adults, and we spent 12 years doing outdoor Shakespeare in the Grove and touring the Circus for a Fragile Planet, schools, and yay! And then in 2018, I got a call from Steve McDermott, who was the chair of the board at that point, and asked me if I would come back. And I said yes. And so I come back for 3 years, try to get everything, you know, get the programs like really lively, and get we were running a financial deficit at that point. And but then about when I hit my 3-year mark, COVID also kind of coincided with that. And that became a whole journey, getting this institution through a couple of years of COVID, which was kind of awesome in some ways and horrible at the same time. You know, we started virtually. Jason created like one of the most amazing, the virtual circus. I was so skeptical that it could happen. Jason's like, hey, let's, you know, we'll do, we'll just run it like a regular program, like 9 to 3 every day. We'll have 2 classes in the morning. We'll have lunch. We'll have 2 classes in the afternoon. I'm like, who's going to want to sit on their computers for like 6 hours a day? And it was awesome. I mean, there were so many different classes, and anything from like, you know, kids were borrowing all kinds of juggling equipment. We were just like art supplies, juggling equipment, things just flying out the door, so people could, you know, practice at home, get classes at home. And a lot of it was not circus stuff. It would be like chill art party, where you would just like, you know, my daughter Artemis, who was like 18 or 19 at that point, would put some music on, give the kids who picked up their paper and markers, and give them a prompt. And they'd all sit there and just draw for like 45 minutes, and then show what they'd done. And even at like lunch with friends, I'm like, who's going to show up for lunch? And I'm like, I tune in, and it's like, it'd be like 30 people on the screen. Kids and staff, they're eating their sandwiches, they're playing Zoom games, it was wild. That was really a triumph of the spirit, I felt. We moved to outdoor as soon as we could, and, you know, did a Twilight Los Angeles production with the Teen Rep Company in the backyard of and, you know, these last years have been great, and but what I'm trying to do now is get out of here. And return to Art Farm work, and, you know, it is, I'm getting a little old for this. So we're looking for an executive director, and maybe they were in the room here somewhere, I don't know. But I've told the board that I'm going to be leaving in June of 2026, so I've got my final season coming up. This is Ricky. It's time. So, segue into what I'm actually talking about. So for me, a lot of right now is about letting go. Not just for me, but for the future of Oddfellows. Sort of letting go of decision-making control, letting go of my identity that's tied in around Oddfellows guy, letting go of the privilege of imprinting Oddfellows with my values, and realizing and embracing the reality that Oddfellows will change. It will transform. It'll find different ways to survive, to thrive, and to serve the community. And it'll be dependent on a different group of people working really hard. Like Alan said there, it's like always been dependent on a group of people who are willing to work really hard for not a lot of money. Because that's the through line of the history of Oddfellows. A small group of inspired people working really hard for not much money because they believe in the value and the impact of the place. Everybody in this room has their own, like, Oddfellows story. We have all these different eras in Oddfellows history that impacted your experience. Which artists, which staff members shaped your time here? Were you mainly a children's circus kid? Were you part of the Troops program? Were you part of the Teen Rep Company? Were you a teaching artist, a staff member, an artistic director, a parent? Like, everybody's got their own Oddfellows journey here. And they're related, they're similar, but each one is unique. Like, everybody's Oddfellows story is a unique story. And ultimately, the future is not ours to say. Case rocks around. Oddfellows will become whatever the torchbearers of the future want it to be and can make manifest. To quote a playwright frequently produced at Oddfellows, William Shakespeare, what's past is prologue. What's to come, in yours and my discharge. That's partly true. The story of these last 50 years, what we've just seen, all the people in this room and not in this room, all the classes and productions on the wall we remember today, this has been a really inspiring prologue to what is to come. But the future is not really in yours and my discharge, but in the hands of the current staff, the current board, the current kids and the families, and those future leaders who are going to step up and do the hard work to keep this magic going. So, as the prologue, we don't really have the right to tell the future what it should be, but maybe we together can assess a little of what we've learned over these past 50 years, what we're passionate about, and help support the vision of these future leaders. And now, we can raise the screen. So, I figure this is a time for a little group think. We have a lot of experience in this room, a lot of passion, a lot of vision, a lot of just caring about Oddfellows. And so Marcella's going to help me by being a scribe. I don't know if you know that too.
Grab some other colors from over here.
Just kind of want to work through a little bit, starting with priority values. Like, what is really important to us? What matters? Why do we all come to Oddfellows? Why do we travel from Norway or London or Oregon or California to come here to celebrate 50 years? What are those priority values? Yeah, Mark.
Diversity and inclusion.
Curiosity and empathy.
Curiosity and empathy.
Passion.
Compassion? Passion. All right.
Joy and possibility.
Joy and possibility.
Family.
Self-expression.
I heard families, and what was the other one?
Self-expression.
Self-expression, family,
Honesty.
honesty,
Love.
love.
Yeah!
Here, all right.
No judgment.
No judgment.
Collaboration.
Collaboration.
Making something together.
Making something together. Wait a minute.
Freedom.
Freedom. Holy moly. All right. Lisa. Social justice. Yeah, Phil. Growth. And Daniel.
Community.
Community. Who else we got? Sharon.
Authenticity.
Authenticity. Jason.
Magic.
Magic. And Perry says intergenerational. Inspirational.
Got it? Got it?
Oh, we got it. Woo! All right.
One. Nonsense.
Nonsense. Friendship. Beautiful. All right. Wow. Wow.
Diversity, inclusion, curiosity, and empathy, families, honesty, love, no judgment, making together, intergenerational growth, community, authenticity, magic, creativity. Woo! Go.
Nonsense, passion, joy, possibility, fun! Self-expression, collaboration, freedom, social, generational, inspiration, magic.
Dirk.
Harmony.
All right. So I feel like there is a broad consensus about why this is special. All right. So this is awesome. So the next thing I wanted to, looking forward, strengths. Like, what are the assets as a community, as an organization that we have going forward? And I'll just start by saying this building is an amazing asset. And I don't know if you all know, but in 2018, we transferred the ownership of the building from Oddfellows to the City of Middletown. We have a 25-year lease, which we're now, 7 years into, at $1 a year. And Betsy made this deal happen. 3 years of bullying the city.
You can't say no to Betsy eventually.
And the city has been so generous. Not just we have a custodian who comes and cleans the building. It's really awesome. We love Nancy. And that we're really lucky. If that had not happened, Oddfellows probably wouldn't be here, because we would probably have not been able to afford the repairs and damages in keeping up the building, and it would certainly have not been in this space. And so it's a great deal. The city is maybe having some buyer's remorse, but
This building is having issues.
but yeah, so that was in the strengths, our assets. So anybody else, what are assets of this organization? Lisa? The history itself is an asset. And I really do think, the reputation that we have in the community is why Betsy was able to convince the city that that this organization is worth supporting, because it makes a difference to the kind of place that Middletown is.
Well earned.
Yeah.
Collective courage.
Collective courage. It's Evan. Hi. Collective courage. I love that. Community. Our community is really strong. Sarah, who, if you don't know her, she's the chair of the board right now.
Loyal donors. Hands back there too.
Okay. Yes, Mark.
Perseverance.
Perseverance. Yes. How many times have we knocked our head against the wall and still keep doing it? Melissa.
Incredible staff that keeps on that.
Incredible staff. Yeah. That is so important. Now. Wesleyan has been a really important part. You heard that in the documentary. I would say, especially in the early years, Wesleyan, the connection was super close, but still remained that. We still have Wesleyan work study students. We're still trying to get them down off the hill. Building children's character. Yeah, the legacy, I think, of all the adults, all the children who turned into adults and are making a difference in the world. Sarah?
Incredible creativity.
Incredible creativity. Yes.
The longevity of the program.
The longevity of the program. We've made it this far. Hold on, let me get Mark first.
Our commitment to inclusion and diversity.
Commitment to inclusion. We stuck with it. We have not dropped that.
Amazing volunteer base.
Amazing volunteer base. Volunteers, the parents, the friends who have made such a difference. Yeah, Alex.
So many teaching artists and artists have come out of this program. So
Yeah.
just the ability to nurture artists
what Betsy said in the documentary about not just the love of kids, but the love of artists. Yeah, Karen.
The documentary we just saw, which can help spread the story much more broadly.
Yeah. Yeah, comment?
Middletown.
Middletown is an asset. They're a great community.
Adaptability. I know what you were going to do.
What was it? Can you repeat it?
Adaptability.
The other one was Middletown.
Very
Deeply committed alumni base.
deeply committed alumni base. Yeah, the way the alumni stepped forward during COVID, when suddenly everything shut down and we had to offer everything for free because we couldn't really, was amazing. People who we hadn't heard from in years suddenly sent in $100 checks, and it was like, it made a huge difference in getting past that moment. Yeah. Yeah.
Partnerships with other organizations like the Office of the Arts.
Partnerships, yes, yeah. Office of the Arts specifically, Middletown Commission on the Arts. Hey, Jeff.
Shaking, Running Wild, and Freezing.
Shaking, running wild.
Original music and access to phenomenal musicians locally.
Right, original work. Yeah, Eric.
It's one of a kind.
One of a kind. Maybe, so there's probably somebody, there must be something like us out there somewhere. Alida, what did you have?
A solid vision.
A solid vision. Yeah, absolutely. Vivian.
Yeah, an archive of original work.
It is an archive. Hopefully you got a chance to watch some of the slideshow. It's about 45 minutes long. Tanae, who is maybe here somewhere, who was our summer intern this summer, put it together.
Well, you did a lot of digging for many, many, many months for all those photos.
Oh, yeah, I've been working on digging the photos out. And there's some shows we couldn't find, but we found a lot. And it starts in 75, a 45-minute journey to 2025. So anything more on our assets? Oh, yeah?
Robust programming.
Robust programming. Love it. Hey!
Unique, robust programming.
Okay, one more.
Standing on the shoulders of giants, like Commedia is a deep, rich tradition. There are other deep, rich traditions that have been drawn from that are deep strengths.
I'll agree that for me, at least, and I know for a lot of the other artists who've worked here, the Commedia, Shakespeare, the Greeks, and then, also dipping our fingers.
Bread and Puppet.
Bread and Puppet, a huge influence. And, the
Celebration Mind.
Celebration Mind, yeah. And just other cultures, like, the Mahabharata production, that was such an experience. It was a year, we had the rep company had to commit to a full season from September through April, and then run this show for 3 weeks, and with Kathakali dance training, sword fighting training, and it's like just a lot of access to material that I think most kids are not getting access to in high school.
We can move on.
I was going to coin that good taste.
Good taste.
I was also going to say social media presence because there is that as well.
Yeah, well, you've been to social media.
Thank you,
presence.
Sasha.
All right, well, mostly good taste, except occasionally for things like Fubu Rex and things like that. All right, so let's continue because I want to make sure we stay sort of on time. So next would be the vulnerabilities. Like, what are the risks, the challenges, the threats that lie ahead? Yeah.
Current administration.
The current administration. We're not talking about you, Chief. On the national level. Yeah.
Silence in the room.
Carol.
Nonprofit status.
Nonprofit status. We are still a nonprofit.
But you see that as a vulnerability because of the...
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to know if you thought it was a vulnerability in its own right or just because of the current moment. Just curious. Yeah. Okay. Because
Yeah.
I would also put that, I would put it in both. That's just me.
Okay. Mark, you had something?
Apathy.
Apathy. Apathy is, yeah, it's always waiting, lurking around the corner. Yeah.
Lack of support.
Lack of support, whether it's community or financial or general, especially financial. Funding, right? I mean, you probably all know because we harass you like every few weeks for money, that it's just the reality of running a little nonprofit like this and wanting to be able to offer, to stick to our policy that you can come whether you can pay or not. Which, so, always, at this point, I would say it's always over 50%, but closer to 60% of kids who participate get financial aid. Which, and that is really important. It would be a very different place if everybody had to pay to be here. What else? What are some of our vulnerabilities?
I would say that, and I can't think of one little sense, but the fractured media, how hard it is to get publicity out there.
Yeah, right. The media landscape is all over the place. Yeah, Don.
I would say competing with the digital monsters, getting kids to come out behind their competitions.
Yeah, getting kids to the screens. It's true. Edward.
The regional changes of how Middletown is not the only place that offers, there's magnet schools, there's people who are busy after school, there's travel soccer. So you're competing with a very different environment than you were in the 70s.
Absolutely. I think that was a real turning point, I think, especially for the Teen Repertory Company, when the magnet schools like Greater Hartford Academy of the Arts and ECA in New Haven started becoming more production-based. Because like the Greater Hartford Academy in the 80s was more like you'd go there during the day and they didn't do productions. So talented kids from all over the state came here to get access to like quality theater experiences. Now most of the magnet schools are very production-based, and that has made the rep companies smaller. Some of you come from the 80s and 90s, remember when every time we do auditions, we'd have somewhere between 45 and 60 kids show up, and then we had to figure out what to do with everybody. Sometimes it would be like, oh my God, we got more than we possibly did, we have to add a third show. And suddenly there'd be a comedian troupe that we weren't planning on doing. And yeah.
I would say marketing is hard, is a vulnerability.
Marketing is hard. Marketing is hard. Yeah, that maintaining a social media presence has become really necessary, but it's exhausting. Especially old guys. What's that? Inflation. Yeah, the cost of everything. I mean, one of the things that happened over the COVID years, or between 2019 and 2023, is that Oddfellows' budget doubled. It basically went from about $325,000 a year to like $600,000. And the reason for that was because to get artists to teach, we needed to pay them better. To get staff to stick around and want to be here, we had to pay them better. And that things started costing more. But it's just kind of a reality of the time. People can't make a living on, $8,000 a year salaries like we used to have back in the 80s. For that many people. How else are we vulnerable?
Going back to the first point I made, fear.
Fear.
Fear about the kind of outer limits of the type of expression that we all from.
And I would also just add fear of change. Personally, for me, I think that's been a thing. Is like, I've tried a couple of times over the last few years to kind of manufacture a transition of leadership, and it hasn't worked out a few times. And part of it I've realized is like, I need to let go of like what I think Oddfellows is and what it needs to be, and not think that there's this, copyright, this is Oddfellows, it has to be like that. It's a different world than it was 50 years ago, and kids need different things, and kids are different. now than they were. There's a lot of stuff we did back in the 80s and 90s and 70s that we could not do anymore.
I know that the building is a strength, but it's also a vulnerability.
I'm honest to say that too.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the city owns it, but every time there's a catastrophic moment with the building, you know, props and costumes and people and offices and all kinds of things are impacted and affected.
I mean, the basement, if I can, for people who aren't aware, there's been flooding, and the basement, which is normally the green room and a classroom space, hasn't been usable for almost 2 years because it's been gutted by flooding. If you get to go down there, you should see it's very cozy right now, but that's not really real. I'm just saying, it's a real thing. It's a lot to manage.
Right, and if you really think about the next 50 years, we have about, what, 17 years left on our lease, so, you know, in 17 years, the city can decide, yeah, I'm done with that. Like, we are so tired of sinking money into Oddfellows, let them swim by themselves. Yeah, so the building, an asset, and a vulnerability. Sasha. Oh, Marco. Sarko.
Over here. I was going to say, yeah, there's Sasha. I was going to say the pending departure of Dic Wheeler.
Dirk, I see you back there.
Well, I would say climate change.
Climate change.
Well, if your basement's flooding.
Yeah. Trying to all. Olivia.
Grant writing literacy for future leaders.
Grant writing literacy for future leaders.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, you know that most of you from the older days remember me as a guy that directed a lot of plays and taught classes. I hardly do that anymore. I just spend most of my life writing grants. And Liz, who's here probably somewhere, maybe she's downstairs, our managing director, I hope you've met, spends a lot of time, you know, raising money and trying to, you know, that it's just the reality. That it's part of, you know, you need creative people, but you also need people who are going to raise money and manage the money. When you get, you know, as big as we are, there's a lot of, you know, running a nonprofit takes a lot of paying attention to rules, things like that. The IRS, and you know, we're so far we've managed to stay on the right side of the law. Keep a lawyer on our board. All right, any other vulnerabilities facing us? Good. All right. So did I miss anyone? No. Okay, then I have the need, and for me, what this kind of means is, why is Oddfellows needed? Like, how do we stay relevant, and what's important about this organization continuing? Does it matter? Yeah, thank you.
Not enough things in Middletown for kids to do.
Not enough kids for things to do. Yeah, Karen.
Teaching collaboration and empathy is desperately needed.
Yes, teaching, collaboration, and empathy are desperately needed in our current society. Mark.
I'm not sure how to frame it, so I don't want to get too autobiographical, but growing up here, I felt like there was tons of things for people into sports to do. Yes. I wasn't a sports person, I was a music person. And it wasn't until I found Oddfellows that I found my people, but it was more than that. People who are in sports learn to work as a team to accomplish something bigger than themselves. And really the only other place where that happens is people in theater who are working together to accomplish a show. And I think that is incredibly important, especially for the people who are not into sports or don't really have that opportunity. So Oddfellows is needed for that. It's to teach people teamwork and leadership in that context.
Thank you. Yes, and I'm going to quote my wife here, who talks about how theater teaches individual responsibility and group accountability. And those translate into a marriage, a job, a relationship, functioning in the world. Is that Perry in the back? Yes.
Authenticity. People are a little too afraid to be themselves nowadays.
Yep.
Authenticity. All right. Yeah, I think you know, for kids always at Oddfellows, there's been a certain safe space to this, that you can be yourself. I think that is just as true today. I think the kids who are in the teen rep company, and Perry, and I see X, and several other people here, you come here and you are who you are, and it's okay. You know, and it's okay to be you. And that's really important. That to create a place. I think a lot of kids who get stigmatized in school one way or another will find here a kind of support and community that doesn't always exist for them. Diana.
Combating hate.
Combating hate. Love it. Woo. Tim.
I would say, like, as a Middletowner, kids like seeing what is possible as an adult, like what forms of adulthood are possible.
That's right. Adult models, sort of models. Oh, yeah.
I would probably have to say teaching kids to come out their shell.
Yeah.
You have a lot of shy kids,
Come out of
and
the
just
shell.
the exposure and the diversity, they grow and they get more confident by coming here, coming out their shell.
Yeah, did you have one too?
Yeah, I was going to say a place for diverse people to get together.
Okay. Anybody? Foster, another current rep company member.
Finding and creating like passions in things.
Finding and creating passions. Yeah, Peggy.
Models of artistic excellence.
Models of artistic excellence. Woo! Clover.
Place to play.
Place to play. Elsa.
Instilling and valuing, trying things and failing and trying them again. Rigor and tenacity and the pleasure of that experience.
Perseverance.
Perseverance.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Perseverance. Yeah.
Inspiring creativity.
Inspiring creativity. These are all things we need to keep doing. Come here. Yeah, Karen.
It's also a place where the community can experience theater. That's a forfeit for everyone.
Okay, so
Can you repeat that? Go to the theater.
it's providing affordable theater.
Affordable quality theater.
Kevin.
Two things, grant writers, and then also finding community partners. So I think someone said like just be shy or like having Oddfellows just be like a instant go-to place that those in the community know that they can send
A resource.
Yeah.
Sierra, yep.
Stability,
Stability.
like a stable environment for other people.
Cool. Sasha.
Consciously fostering an alternative to screen time. So alternative to screen times.
Alternative to screen time, yeah.
Yeah, a conduit that's official and institutional to the arts, sort of representation in the town to the town government, but also to the larger kind of official structure in our nation that about the arts mattering, but in this kind of official institutional concrete capacity.
Yeah. You got that down to the Jessica.
I think something I really got from it, that I hope stays, is a need, is understanding theater as a force of social change and individual and community agency throughout the ages. When I learned to clown, I understood the way in which clown undermines authoritarian in Italy, hundreds of
Susanna.
Poverty prevention.
Poverty prevention. Woo! All right, Harry.
An endowment for the theater.
Oh, we need an endowment. Yeah, Lisa.
We teach kids to be able to feel confident speaking up, and more of society stand up and speak up.
Yes.
Stand up and speak up. Be confident. Right. I think that this maybe sounds like old people talking, but that between all the screens in kids' lives right now and the trauma of living through the pandemic, that there's a lot of very fragile young people out there right now, and that it's really important that we can provide a place where kids can be challenged, and yet in a way that is sensitive to what they've been through over the last several years. And we really like it when we have little things where you put your phone like in a little bag when you walk into the classroom and you don't have it anymore. That's cool.
This is a great alternative to drugs, too.
Great alternative.
Clothes design.
Say it again?
Clothes design. For people that costumes.
Oh, I see, right? So, like wardrobe costume design, and like learning about that? Yeah, Jennifer.
So this is a counter to the idea that we have more competition now in the theater, youth theater, which is that Oddfellows offers an alternative path for theater artists to develop that is less about the performance and the jazz hands and more about the interior work that an artist does to come.
Yes.
Two things. One, civility.
Civility.
And all levels, from top down, and also, I think, outreach.
Outreach into different parts of the
go out
community.
into the community.
We need to keep out, yes, and find new ways to do outreach, and again, like people have mentioned, media, the schools, it's just not as easy to communicate with the community as it used to be in some way. Yeah?
I would say that there's a real need to find a way to employ artists full time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to go along with like art for social change and more outreach, maybe we could do some more art installations with kids, whether it's theater or dance or whatever. Go
Like art in the community.
Yeah.
Our art installations.
Can I something when Mark spoke very early on, Hilton, what came out for me is community and connection. I just feel like a lot of these, like also like to me in my heart, like I don't know, we're divided, we're distracted, and I feel like that for me is that thinking by
Oh yeah, John.
Exposure to the very historical traditions of human storytelling.
Cool. Exposure to the historical traditions of human storytelling. Love that, Dirk.
Yeah. This sort of crosses from the strengths also into the needs, but using the memory is something that's disappearing. And so I was thinking sort of memory / improvisation, because you do so much with memory and memorizing things, and yet when you forget on stage, you teach how to cover your ass. And so I think that combination, because I'm seeing, since we got internet and people, with Google Maps, you don't even know where you live anymore. You just sort of punch it in. And you don't know any phone numbers. So memory is like the critical thing.
You got that? I forgot what you said.
Memory, improvisation.
We're pushing. Oh, Nat.
Amidst stress here, struggling to survive, and I guess I'm jumping off the clouding thing. I think it's important to remember that having strong and educated, a sense of humor is not a joke.
So, last part, just about vision. What do we see in the future? And I know we've covered a lot of this, but let it be what Betsy called windy big think. that the idea of, just what do you see? I mean, I don't think it came out of the archive, I'm not sure, it made it. But there's this, picture from Keith Bearden in 1976 of Oddfellows Playhouse that had 17 different rooms and towers and rehearsal space, quiet space, video room, So just what's the vision? What do you see Oddfellows, 10, 20, 30 years from now? Oh, it's hard. Yeah.
I hope and envision Oddfellows having their own theater, their one that they deserve.
Thank you. It's our own space, and maybe. Yes.
I'd say Oddfellows continuing to be a leader for teaching artists and training the next generation of artists that are going to kind of spiral out with the gift that is what Oddfellows.
I hope the younger generation here throws a really good party.
Well, the younger generation throw a really good party. Kobe, you back there?
A second black box.
A second black box. A second black box. More theater space. Waterproof basement. Either one of you. Go ahead.
I would love to see Oddfellows branch out to different towns.
Okay, spreading to different towns.
Yeah.
Becoming more regional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Community engagement. Anything more specific on that, or just
working together with other nonprofits, more attention to production.
Okay, right. So working, collaborating with other community groups, nonprofits, school groups. I heard here connections to schools. Elsa.
An endowment that allows grant writing to be obsolete.
Foster, I would love to hear from more of the young people, the teens here in the crowd about how you see Oddfellows, where you'd like to take it.
I would just really want to continue being a place for younger people to find people who they can both. Sorry,
It's okay, you're doing great.
Just a place for young people to find a community and to an extent themselves in just yeah.
Also, Dic, and in some ways, Foster, it also means that the future, while Dic, you said maybe it doesn't have the same imprint of values, but maybe it does.
I think a space where this continued, sorry, now I a space where we can continue to be the counter to all these other elements that are building in the world right now that are scary and divisive, and that this space brings that community, and for younger people especially, who haven't had that as much and really are so much more isolated than previous generations, to be able to get back, right, to that, right, and rebuild that with the youth as we move forward and rebuild whatever comes next in the coming years, So,
Thank you.
that's a lot of words.
Yeah, we got some. Yeah, Karen.
This is really windy big thing, but I would want to have in the future vision, in addition to the theater, circus, physicality, theater stuff, there develops a writer's project here where young people are writing for themselves and each other, and a project where the film is incorporated. And those are both very potent certain art forms that can be woven through the kind of work that Oddfellows does. It would mean more artists, it would mean more spaces, it would mean more gadgets, it would mean more people. So that's why it's a really big thing.
Nice. Yeah.
Just going back to endowment, I would love for Oddfellows to become a model for a type of security for an institution like this. Not to have to fundraise every year, not to be desperate, but to have that absolutely wonderfully cemented sense of fiscal security. And for the long run.
So if somebody here has $10 million,
$100 million.
that would make it a lot easier to run the place. Angel donor. We have a few real generous donors, which is great. We're all angels. Yes, who's back there? Rowan. Is that you, Rowan?
Oh, hello. What was I going to say? Oh, opening up more space for kids to find have multiple interests and maybe find and move towards what they really might be called for, whether that is the more logistical side of things, whether that is music and art, whether that is performing or directing and writing, like letting kids kind of identify what direction they really are interested in and building space for that.
Sort of at the transition now, but I would like if there are any other young voices that want to be heard right now. Yes, in the back. Is that Bethany?
Yeah. This is really simple, but I just want to see like the community, the Oddfellows community, continue throughout the next 50 years. Because I know me included and everyone else in this room can say that just the community in general has made a huge difference in their lives.
But I can piggyback on that. Like, there's a lot of us that live in other parts of the country, other parts of the world. I'd love to mentor a kid, from afar, or like let them know, hey, if you're coming to Chicago and you're going to college here, you're going to join a program here. Like, I'm also an Oddfellows person. I can help you out. Or take you out to college.
It actually kind of had to do with what she just said, but it was more where Oddfellows as a unit will go to like different states and places and perform shorts like outside of Middletown, Connecticut. Like they can do in like Hartford, Connecticut, or like places that are cross country and like get funding.
An alumni network.
Yeah, and get funding to do things like elsewhere outside of just Connecticut.
Wow, this is awesome. I think I'm going to, we're clearly ready for the next.
Mo had one thing I wanted to add. I think we, as an organization, have been built on clearly like this huge history, 50 years of being really involved in this town and with all of the local organizations. But seeing all of this, I think we have to stand on business. This is a Gen Z term. Like all of these things, like our core values, we can't let those die. We can't let those go to waste in the next 50 years, in the next 4. We have to really, embrace who we are as a community and not back down from what we have here, which is a community of awesome, like-minded weirdos, and really cool people, and really people who care about each other and about art.
Thank you on to the next sessions. Just a little overview of what the rest of the day holds. If you have probably figured there's a bunch of merch for sale. I encourage you to buy that. Also, David Schultz's art. David Schultz, many of you know him. He's one of the people there. He passed away last year. He probably designed 60 or 70 shows here at Oddfellows between the mid-'80s and up to about 2010. You know, and there's really a handful of people who've impacted Oddfellows. He's like measured in decades rather than years, and he's certainly one of them. His family is holding a memorial for him for those that knew him tomorrow afternoon in here, but also has donated a lot of his artwork, which is for sale, and all the proceeds are going to Oddfellows. It's in the front hall. And another little fundraising thing is we have a 50-50 raffle going on today, which is a $50 buy-in, and we'll be drawing the raffle winner at the end of the open mic, which is from 7 to 9 tonight. You don't have to be here.
If you haven't signed up for the open mic and you want to perform, you can still do that down at the registration table until 5 o'clock.
And tomorrow morning here at 10, there's going to be an event called From Founding to Future, which is hosted by the kind of founding cohort of Oddfellows, the people who were here in the mid-'70s. And we're all invited. I hear there's going to be bagels and coffee.
Donuts.
Donuts, okay.
And Al is speaking to those the founding ideas and what made it happen.
Fantastic.
And we're going to have fun. And we're going to play and sing.
And right now, I am going to invite our mayor, Nocera.
First one I want to talk about our celebration of Oddfellows Playhouse. It's a partnership that we've had for so many years, and for good reason. It has done remarkable things for our community, and you all know that. You're here today because of that. Generations of young people come through this wonderful facility, and in the beginning, we didn't have this facility. Found places to perform. As a principal, for so many years, Dick and Marcella would show up with the kids, and Dick, with his amazing hair and that incredible giggle that he has, and humor. He knew as a performer how to engage kids in a flash. This is incredible. And Marcella was there doing the same thing. Where is she? Hiding.
Hiding with my boys.
And those were special moments. And we all know, kids remember those things. They remember those things. And what happens there. And the fun they have. And what they learn, and they learned about people, and the love they saw there. So important to me, particularly today. And love is something that, we don't want to talk about a lot, but this place is full of love. So glad to continue with our relationship with Oddfellows and staff, and our founder who joined this incredible organization in 1979, coming out of Western University. In history of Middletown. So thank you so much. We have a proclamation for quite frankly,
by Belton, who is our state representative.
Hello, everyone. I am just making it to the party, so can we give another round of applause, celebrating 50 years? Citations, and they are from Lieutenant Governor Spice, and another from our Governor, Ned Lamont. But before I give these to you, I want to tell my Oddfellows story. So, as some of you might know, I am not originally from Middletown. I'm from Hartford, and in Hartford, many people that lived around me looked like me. We had similar experiences. So I moved here over 20 years ago, and my daughter comes home and she talks about circus camp. And I'm like, circus camp? What is this about? So I talked to my neighbor, Felicia, who is now my best friend, and on board. She was telling me about her own experiences at circus camp, and I was like, okay, she's gonna go. She went, she was having an amazing time, and then one weekend, my sister came up, and we were in the grocery store. My daughter was with us, and she sees this man, white man, big man, tattoos all over his body, colorful hair, and she runs up to him and she embraces him. They embrace. I say my hellos, and my sister is looking like, what? So she starts asking my daughter all these questions about circus camp, and then my daughter mentioned jumping through a ring of fire. Now I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna get a phone call from my mother. If you know anything about Black family, the grandma is the matriarch, and her opinion, they have a lot of, I'm gonna say we, because I'm a grandma now. So we have a lot of opinions, right? And we have a lot of influence on the family. So I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what is she gonna say when she calls? So I got the call, she said, you have my granddaughter jumping through a ring of fire? I'm like, Mom, like this camp is amazing, she is flourishing. Why don't you come to this show? She came to this show, she loved it, and she was so impressed with all of the things that the young people were doing. And she recently asked me if my own grandson was going to go to circus camp. All the amazing things that have happened here, and I also think it speaks to how it impacts families over generations. People come to Oddfellows and they feel like they belong, they can be themselves, they have wonderful connections and they build a community, and I am so happy to have Oddfellows Playhouse right here in Middletown. Thank you for all that you've done. Mr. Dic Wheeler has led Oddfellows with incredible vision, consistency, and before it was popular to say out loud, he believed that every child should have access to the arts. He's been a teacher, a mentor, an amazing leader, not just sustaining this organization, but helping it to thrive. And he is so passionate about that. And sometimes I would get emails and phone calls, and he would need something within 24 hours, sometimes less than that. But I know his passion and how important this is, and I would get on it right away. So Dic, I want to thank you for the seeds that you have planted in so many lives. Your love and your wisdom and all that you have planted is going to live on for generations. So I thank you. We all thank you.
I would say that working for the mayor has to have some perks, and this is one of them. Because before I worked for the city, when I was 24 years old, I applied for my first big kid job. I was interviewed by Amy and Dic. And I spent 10 years here at the Playhouse working with the Neighborhood Troops program, which will always have an incredibly special place in my heart. And listening to you guys talk about what was important and the vision, Oddfellows was the reason that I survived in Connecticut. It's not easy to move as a senior in high school. And so I am delighted to have the privilege to join Nocera in presenting Dic with a key to the city. Oddfellows in 1979, after coming to Wesleyan in 1977 from Vienna, Austria. And he has been serving Middletown ever since, and why I know how to count the difference. He wrote and directed his first Oddfellows play, Willie Ball, in 1979. Since then, Dic has directed over 100 plays at Oddfellows and has touched the lives of so many young people. He has taught 3 generations of some Middletown families. And a testament to some of the programs that he has led are the young people who were his students as 6-year-olds and who are now long-time Oddfellows teaching artists. He is the creator of the Children's Circus of Middletown, now in its 37th year, creator of the Teen Circus program, and the Neighborhood Troops program, which serves under-resourced youth from low-income housing areas, including Maplewood Terrace and Traverse Square. He has left Oddfellows at times over the years to pursue artistic endeavors, studying Commedia dell'arte, performing and teaching in Europe, or co-founding Art Farm with his wife Marcella, who he met at Oddfellows. But Dic always comes back, often at the beck and call. He has been the spine, the heartbeat, and for many, the soul of Oddfellows. He is a true community leader, and the work he has done with our youth and with artists has had a profound ripple effect throughout and beyond Middletown. So, we want to thank our head clown.
I was just wondering. But thank you for the recognition. It really, well.